good at our research reports, technicals, both and fundamentals. We do consulting. We do strategic consulting. Then we completely outsource treasury. We have set up treasuries. And today we have reached a stage where anything about foreign exchange market, anything about foreign exchange risk management. So Almas is pioneer in that. I have my partner, Mr. Maulik Shah, is the CEO of Almas Risk Consulting here. And about the Zen. Zen, this idea we got way back in maybe 2 years, 3 years back. So I had happened to come across a book, Trading to Win by Dr. Aris Q, somewhere in 97 or so. So I was reading that book, and the technical and fundamental part was less, but it was a very interesting book. So I was not able to make out head on tail of that book. Then I happened to do landmark forum where transformation education was a critical area. And this is about transformation, and along with the domain and technical knowledge. This book is how traders are groomed. So a hedge fund, ours is a risk management fund, a similar hedge fund abroad, they bought Dr. Aris Q and a coach which used to coach athletics. So what they found is the transformation of mind, the business coaching, that is very, very critical for a trader. For a trader and an athlete, Olympic athlete, there is the training required and the preparation required is almost same. The discipline, the preparations, so many things. It is almost same, you know. So I happen to, I have been very active in the landmark 2012 to 13, 14. I have done introduction leader program, then coaching and all. It's a vigorous training. People, Maulik has done that, Venu has done, and many in the group must have done that. So it's a vigorous training, and the training molds you to be transform as a good human being. So I could transform my business after joining Landform. And this, I thought that Indian financial market, Ananth definitely agrees with me that they lack traders for various reasons. Okay. One of the reasons I always complain against RBI and the especially RBI that they are averse to trading. They think trading is detrimental to financial market development. Trading is speculation, and it doesn't contribute anything. It's only few smart bankers or speculators, they make money, but it is not. Ananth made deliberate little bit on it, but everyone in the financial market knows price making is required for a currency, for the interest rate. It's a very, very important factor which contributes to economic growth. For that, you need good traders. So unfortunately, because of RBI's thinking, the market in India could not develop. So we all know that robust market developed in the overseas NDF market, and unfortunately, all Indian rupee is ours, but most of the trading happens abroad, and the market changed. The volumes are huge. It's around $8 to $9 billion in domestic market, equals there. And today, Rao sir was asking me that in a holiday like 1st May, can't you place orders? I used to place 20 years before the orders. Why not now? Then I told Rao sir, the market has changed, not changed. The market has moved back. Some of the traders which I have seen, say 20 years back, we don't see. And some of the stalwart today, Professor Ananth Narayan, he was a head of Southeast Asia and head of treasury at Stanchart. Such eminent treasurers you don't see today because there is no requirement or there is no focus on foreign exchange trading in India today. So it is developing, and so many things happened. I'm not telling it is not there, but the way the required thing, it is not there. We all know that the financial market development contributes to the GDP. More than all that, see, an attempt was made to give good traders to the market. That was the idea of Zen. So Zen started this. This is the 6th batch of valedictory address, and we must have trained around 65 to 70 people. And the next Zen batch we are going to launch on 7 June. the effort is that to give good traders to the market. So what we believe is that this training will help we combining with some common sense and establish psychological principle will enable and understand the tradings. And we have seen during the course this trading that some of the traders have developed and they're making good money. We have faculties starting with Yashwant Rao, Kagarajan, Daniel is the physical training coach. We have mind business coaching, Ekta, Venugopal, and Atita Shetty. This is about the brief about Zen and today's valedictory address, and we have with us today Dr. Pramod Solanki. Pramod is a dear friend of mine. We met in Landmark, and incidentally, he is enabling growth and individual organization. He provides executive coaching. He provides leadership development, corporate training, business consulting. If you log into his LinkedIn profile, what all he does not do, you will wonder. So many things in the HR side area is doing. I was fortunate to meet him in Landmark. In fact, I was his coach in Landmark. I don't know what I was doing there. So he was such a humble person, and he was a good coachee, and we have been connecting on and off. And today he is going to talk about how the business coaching or how mindset coaching will help in any business. And I have asked him to glance through the Trading to Win book. So he's come prepared for that. He's a doctor in HR and worked for Sun Pharma as head of HR and many other, before that, I think L&T. So varied, vast experience, and he knows who and who in HR sector, and he is contributing in his own way by calling people like Gopal Krishna and from HUL people, Meswani, and so many webinars he conducts. I was highly impressed by the way he brings out the talent in the webinar and how he shares his thoughts. So I thought that he is the fit person to share today with us how this business coaching will help for Zen. Over to Dr. Pramod Solanki.
Thank you so much, Venkatesh. When a friend introduces you, he will normally be generous. I think that is, and more so when the friend happens to be someone like Venkatesh. Of course, he was my coach, and if I have completed my landmark courses, and I owe that to the support I had from him. The way he has synthesized the learnings of landmark with the domain knowledge and skill of trading, I'm really deeply impressed. While we used to talk of many other things, this is a part that we began talking only recently. I think it speaks for his clarity and his ability to synthesize these two disciplines so beautifully. So my compliments to Venkatesh for having shown a way in an area where we need more, most certainly we need more traders, and my best wishes to you, Venkatesh. I also want to, wish the graduating class, if I may say. I learned that if some of the participants here are completing their program, my congratulations, best wishes. You are feeding into the requirement that the market has, the country has. I guess we have good number of aspirants. My best wishes to them to make the most informed judgment that they can make. And while it goes without saying, but let me just say that whatever little I know very little of trading, but I can certainly say that it's like any other profession. There is a body of knowledge, and there is a mindset required for a person to be an effective trader, a successful trader, very much like any other profession. I think trading is also like running your business, with only advantage being that you can run this business with relatively small capital. A computer and a good internet connection is possibly all that you need to make a beginning, and then rest is up to you. What do you do with it? So therefore, whatever the world might say, I think it is like any other professional activity which benefits from the knowledge, from the skill, and equally the mindset part. And the few minutes that Venkatesh has set aside for me, nice of him to provide this opportunity for me to interact. I actually want to talk about some of the the mindset aspect of it, obviously because I don't know trading. So you have Professor Ananth Narayan and many other senior faculty members are there. They will talk about it. But let me say that the way we live life, the way we deal with day-to-day things, the kind of mindset we carry, it reflects very clearly on the way we will trade. And those are a few things that I will talk about briefly, in this short session. So one is, a discipline and patience together. The little that I know of trading, if you take the actual time when you take action, that is when you enter or you exit, that time is a very small part of the whole day. Very, very small part. Rest of the day you're observing, waiting for signals, monitoring signals. And if you do not have this discipline of when to decisively act without hesitation, and when to hold back against all kinds of temptations, it is going to be difficult. So while an overarching strategy, like for any activity, you will have for trading as well, you will have your trade plan. I'm sure your faculty would have told you. I mean, you would know how much you want to deploy, how much capital, for how long you want to deploy it, etc., etc. That clarity has to be there. But then with that clarity, if you do not have a discipline and reassurance to act decisively when you see the right signal, when you see it meeting your parameters of trade plan and strategy, then I think that's something you need to work on. As much as there'll be various temptations during the day, because like I said, you are spending a very small part of the whole day in actual entry and exits. For a large part of the day, you are observing the trends and the data and the signals. And if you get tempted to opportunities which don't fit into your strategy and trade plan, the chances are that it will not work. So the firmness to act decisively when it meets your parameters, and the patience to hold back when you know that, no, it is not actually meeting my parameters, is an extremely important thing. Some of us have this naturally, some of us don't have it naturally. And if we don't have it, there are ways to work on this aspect and improve this. So the first thing I want to say is this: make sure that you have the required discipline and patience to act decisively when you need to act, and be able to hold back against temptations when you know that this particular opportunity doesn't meet the parameters that I have set for myself. Then is mental toughness. The most successful of the traders also lose. I'm sure you know it more than me. Only difference is they win more often, or they win more than they lose. There is no trader who has not lost. And if you are someone who gets disheartened when you lose, I think you have some work to do, because losing is part of this work. If you get disheartened, you are very likely to miss out a very promising signal, an opportunity that may immediately come your way. And therefore, please make peace. Please accept that losses will happen. I need to quickly bounce back and be alert to the movements, development signals, etc., that are happening. So that's another part that I want to talk about. You need to develop this mental toughness, acceptance that yes, I will lose sometimes, and I have to find a way of to quickly get back in the same frame of mind and keep track. So that's that much for toughness. Then adaptability. There is, no 2 days in trading. Again, I don't have to tell you, you know it more than me. No 2 days in trading are alike. You can have your strategy, you can have your trade plan, but you know that every day in trading is different. And if you are used to playing only in a certain kind of a market and are not able to accept and work that the market will be different, very volatile someday, flat someday, somewhere in the middle someday, and therefore I would need to adapt the plan as to when I act and when I hold back. If that flexibility and adaptability we don't develop, it will remain a limitation and a challenge. The next bit that I want to talk about is, every trader must develop independence. And what do I mean by independence? There is a plethora. I mean, you people have gone through the course, and there is so much to learn from the material, from the YouTube videos, and from the experts who are all around there. And of course, one must keep learning, one must keep talking. But the fact of the matter is, your situation is unique. You have a certain definite amount of capital that you want to deploy. You want to deploy it for a certain period of time. And that is unique to you. And unless you develop your own independent approach to what works best for you, it will be a challenge, because no other advisor's situation or other trader's situation will be identical to your own. And therefore, working on what works best for me is part of improving your mindset and improving your ability to trade. And the last bit that I want to share is that if you are a type who cannot spontaneously take calls when opportunities present, I think there is something called forward thinking. You can, develop scenarios and practice that what circumstances and scenarios should be there when I will enter. Once I have entered, what scenarios should be there when I will exit or I will stay, for how long? Scenario planning and forward thinking. With some of this practice, you are a lot more comfortable. You are a lot more comfortable in taking a call when a scenario similar to that or somewhat similar to that comes up. So therefore, you actually mentally prepare yourself. So these are some of the mindset related aspects which actually affect when you take a decisive action, when you hold back, how long you stay. Like I said in the beginning, some of us have this in ample measure, some of us don't have it. But the good news is that these are tendencies, mindsets, or traits, whatever you want to call them, that we can nurture with a little help. And coaching, business coaching, Venkatesh spoke about, coaching can be extremely helpful, in terms of nurturing any of these aspects. And what I would recommend and in closing, is that each one of you should think about some of these fundamental mindset aspects, should know what your strength in these areas are and how I can leverage them more, and also know what are these 4 or 5 things, and maybe there are more, where I am not so sure and I am on a shaky ground, and therefore what can I do so that I get better there. If I use my HR jargon, your own individual development plan. If you have some idea around that, work on it yourself, take a little help from coaching. I think these mindsets can be developed in anybody. So that's a little piece I wanted to share. Thanks very much for patient listening from somebody who doesn't know trading. And with that, I hand you over to Venkatesh.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pramod. And you have put it very nicely. And so what I could get is that a trader, a non-trader can become a trader. Okay. And a businessman who is not successful, or a person who wants to do the business, he can get into the business and expand him. Okay. So I always quote my own example of this transformation thing has helped me in transforming my business from a revenue of 10 years back, 60 lakhs, to today, a revenue of $1 million. So that has happened only because of the transformation training. And even in trading, after teaching Zen, in my own trading has improved to a different level. And the way I treat trading, I used to trade before, that has changed. So it's not that only that people who are Ananth always used to quote an example, the people who need not be a rank holder or even IIT IIMs, but they can be good traders, So wherein I'm not telling that the qualification is required, qualification adds a lot, but the trading is a different skill altogether. Let us hear from Ananth Narayan. About Ananth, he is a learner, he is a teacher, and he is a market participant. He has a keen interest in economy markets, financial services, financial trading, policies, governance, and values. Recently, in one of the tweet, the governor of Reserve Bank of India was mentioning that we can't miss. Ananth puts it macroeconomics in a very, very simple way. Whatever Ananth says, even now, whatever he speaks is very, very simple and anybody can understand without any trading experience or not even a financial market experience. Presently, he is an associate professor at SPJIMR Institute Management and Research. He is also an independent director at Bharat FIH and a senior India analyst at Observatory Group. He is an additional director on S Bank board, independent director at Southern Regions Capital. By qualification, he is an IIM from Lucknow and also IIT from Bombay. And he is prior to join SPJIMR college as associate professor. He was an active financial market person, a treasurer, a master trader, and I'm sure he made big money to Stanchart. He started his career, I think, with Citibank, moved to Deutsche Bank, and then to Standard Chartered Bank. A very humble person. I have seen him when he joined the FX market. From there to head of treasury at Stanchart, and even now he's a very eminent and highly respected person. And I used to say he's one of the best moderator in financial market. With this introduction, over to Ananth.
Thank you, Bijur sir. I always wish I'd tape you when you introduce me like this. As Dr. Solanki said, when you do this introduction, you tend to be very, very generous, far more generous than the person deserves. And the next time, remind me, I will tape it and play it back to my wife. I think it will do my marriage a lot of good. Congratulations to the graduating class of this edition of Zen. And kudos to the entire Almas family. I see Maulik, Bijur sir. I think putting this program together for traders is unique. I've not seen one like this. Maybe there are, but I haven't seen them often. And you cover all the aspects which I think are so critical for trading, whether it's the skills and the aptitude and the knowledge, etc., along with things like the emotional part and the balance part, and of course keeping health in mind as well. I think all these are so critical for longevity as far as the trading profession is concerned. Trading can be a very interesting. I wouldn't do anything other than trading in my life. It can be a joyous profession. It can also be an extremely taxing profession. For longevity, just like Bijur sir even now runs the marathon, for that kind of longevity, you need that complete balance between knowledge, keeping your emotional, in balance, as well as the health part. So kudos again. And I know you get some fantastic faculty like Yashwanji, people like, a whole bunch of good people to handle the health part and the knowledge part as well. Tyagu sir, I'm sure, is involved in many ways as well. So congratulations again. Few quick thoughts from my side on trading. So I was an accidental trader. I come from a family, lower middle class family, where my father, good curd rice eating South Indian, always, till his last day, considered equity markets to be a sinful place where only the bad people go. If he had known later on, I joined markets after he was no more. If he had known that I'd joined markets to join a full-time trading profession, he would have been completely mortified. But I joined trading by accident. It was not by design. And, I spent about 20 years in banking, in the trading side, in the market side. I've had the privilege of working with some extremely good people. And I've learned a lot to my last day. I continue to learn a lot from some of the younger participants. And what I'll try and do is some snippets about what I think makes a good trader for you to keep in mind or discard. And here is the caveat that I want to add right away. I'm not a good judge of who will be a good trader. We come with a lot of pride that, I have these following qualifications, etc., etc. Bijur sir mentioned that I'm on the board of Southern Ridges. So there's a guy called Mohit Khurana who runs Southern Ridges. He's not on this chat, so I can happily talk about him. When he joined Citibank many years ago as a young undergraduate, or rather, management associate, fresh from IIM, etc. He's from IIT IIM as well. I remember sitting down with him and saying, boss, don't get into trading. You're an extremely intelligent guy. Go into structuring, go into sales. You'll make a lot more of a name for yourself on the structuring and sales side. He insisted, no, I have to do trading. You got it wrong. My bent is towards trading. And I remember warning him, boss, tum pachtaoge tum. Theek hai, tum aa jao, mere team pe aa jao, but I think you'll regret. I was totally wrong. He was a fantastic trader in India. Many of you might remember him. He went on to become a very successful trader in Barclays, and then he joined a very big hedge fund, and now he started a fund of his own, and I'm proud to be on his board, helping him in whichever way possible. So the point being that to me, it's extremely difficult to figure out who will be a good trader. I've seen people of completely diverse backgrounds becoming fantastic traders, and I've seen some people coming from very good backgrounds not succeeding as a trader as well. So that's a big caveat. I'm not giving you a mantra to how to become a good trader, but I'll still try and tell you what I've seen over the last 20 years. Now that I've become an academic as well, one person I would like you to Google in case you haven't heard of him already is this person called Eugene Fama. It's spelled F-A-M-A. This guy wrote a paper in the 1970s. By the way, traders hate this guy, but he's the most cited finance professional in the world. His paper is the most cited finance paper in the world. He talked about efficient markets, and he talked about how under certain conditions, it is impossible to beat the market. You're effectively tossing a coin when you're trading. There's no way you can consistently beat markets. In fact, if you take into account things like transaction cost, brokerage, etc., you're designed to lose. You cannot make money in the markets. Traders obviously, hotly contest whatever he says. I'm not going to go into who's right. All I want to say is the guy does make a lot of sense, even though I spent a lot of my time trading. And it is important to keep that in mind, that markets already factor in a lot of stuff. The chances that we can know something that the market doesn't know already is pretty low. Why is that important to remember, even if you don't believe or you don't want him to be right? That humility is important. you will be wrong. As Dr. Solanki was saying earlier, you will definitely be wrong. In fact, I get a good hedge fund trader to speak to my class at SPJIMR when I do the markets courses. He doesn't want his name to be named, so I will not name his name. He's probably the most successful trader I've had the privilege of knowing. Extremely well-read, extremely knowledgeable, very, very sound in his thinking. And when you ask him, how often are you right? He gives the statistic of 52%. He says, I'm only right 52% of the time. I'm wrong 48% of the time. The reason he still makes a lot of money is he does his money management very well. He's brutal when he's wrong. He doesn't waste his time on emotions or being defensive, etc. And when he's right, he's still very, very watchful, and he's very, very humble. He knows he could turn wrong any time. The point I'm trying to make is, don't ever, if you have a string where you get your views right 6 times in a row, just thank God and bless your luck. You're in the right place at the right time. Do not take it as that God has given you this right that you'll never be wrong. No, life will average out over a period of time. The most successful traders I've seen in the same light talk about their failures. They don't talk about their successes. I'm very suspicious of people who tell you that I've made this much amount of money on this particular trade, that much money on that trade. They could be right. I'm not questioning them. But the people I've seen consistently performing are the ones who are thinking about why they went wrong, how they went wrong, and saying, boss, theek hai, mujhe, I'm still learning all the while. I'm going all the while. Again, on this point of humility, and I've faced this so many times. When you've done a lot of analysis into a position and you're convinced you're right, when things start to go against you, your ego comes in the way of admitting that you made a mistake and get out. Okay. I've done this so many times. I've done the superior analysis. I've got all my charts. I've got all my thinking. If the market does not, the universe does not owe you anything, right? So just because you've done an analysis doesn't mean it has to be right. When you go wrong, get out. And by the way, the markets give you plenty of time to get out, okay, without too much of a loss. But, and I'll give you another example, right? Right now we had a credit policy, which happened on April 8th, right? Where the RBI sounded a lot more hawkish than I expected. I did not expect them to be that hawkish. If I was trading that time, I know what I would have been doing. I would have been sitting long bonds. I would have got out the moment the policy happened, because life has taught me that when things go well against what you're expecting, your defensiveness will try and justify, nahi, bond markets wapas aa jayenge, this is wrong, this is actually, he doesn't mean this. No, if he's given something which is not what you expected, accept it with humility, move out, get out. Don't stand in the way. Don't let the ego stand in the way. Go outside, chill for some time, think for a long time, come back, aram se, and start again. There is absolutely nothing wrong in admitting that you are wrong and moving on. That's the first part. Second part I've seen in successful traders, and I see some of them here. I see Venkat sir, I see Tyagu sir. The most successful traders I've seen are voracious readers. They absorb a lot of information. One of the reasons why people like trading is because, I come from Calcutta. I was born and brought up in Calcutta. So even though I'm a Madrasi, I consider myself to be a half bong. In Calcutta, we like this concept called adda, right? You sit down and you have a cup of coffee or something stronger. And then you talk about anything and everything under the sun. What is Putin doing? What is Modi doing? What is happening for oil? What is happening in the US? Anything, it doesn't matter. You could talk about the next mission to Mars. In markets, all of this matters. The markets is the one area where you can have adda and try and make money out of it. Because what you'd end up discussing is everything from gold to oil to fertilizer prices to anything and everything, to politics, geopolitics, what is happening in Taiwan, what is happening in Hong Kong, what's happening with COVID, anything and everything under the sun. It's such a pleasure to have such a wide canvas to think about. And successful traders absolutely soak in all of this. Okay, I love giving this example of Tyaguji, who I think in 2011-12 was the first person to discover that Indians were guzzling far more gold than was normal. And therefore, he used that data to tell himself that, you know what, dollar rupee is not going to look good over the next couple of years. I remember in that entire period, 2011-13, he kept warning that rupee is in for a big fall basis this analysis. The fact we were still talking about the old analysis. I had not gone into studying about gold, etc. And he was absolutely right. While we were fighting the long old battle, he was fighting the next year's next battle, the future battle. And it was absolutely right. So you have to be extremely well-read. You have to think, read, do your own analysis, and speak to people who are different from you. Very often what happens in a trading system or trading ecosystem, and believe me, I've been in a banking system for a long time. We all tend to think the same way. We are all people from chartered accountants or MBAs from overseas or IIT, IIMs or whatever. The same, now so-called upper middle class kind of thinking, which becomes an echo chamber. We don't listen to other views. We just consume the same view and we think we are right. You have to have diversity of thought. You have to be engaging with people who are totally different background from you, think very different from you, and say things which you don't believe in at all. And learning from them, learning from the fact that there is a different perspective, extremely important for trading. Another thing which I learned over a period of time is that similar or linked to this point about people thinking in a herd, in a crowd, positioning in the market, especially amongst traders, is an extremely important metric that you have to watch. We spend a lot of time on fundamentals. We tend to spend a lot of time on flows. Positioning or knowing how the market is positioned, extremely critical. Many years ago, when I was learning under, Bijur sir will remember Bhaskar and Jaishankar in Citibank. I remember a time in the late 90s when there was a CRR cut expected from the RBI. And so we were all positioned long on bonds, received on forwards, and so on and so forth. And guess what? The CRR cut happened. Okay, the CRR cut happened. Everybody was happy. Markets came down. Forward premium came down. And by the end of the day, forward premium was higher than where it was before the CRR cut was announced. And that's because the whole world was expecting a CRR cut and therefore was all sitting on the same side and then waiting for flows to come that never came to take this position out. Point being that just because you get the view right, if you don't understand how the market is positioned, you can get it horribly wrong on trading. And then the whole thing about defensiveness or trying to justify your positioning, etc., comes into the picture again. The last bit I'm going to talk about is this mental piece, which I know Zen spends a lot of time upon. Do yourself a favor, and when you come back home after trading, whenever you're trading, do not think about trading. I was lucky enough to be blessed with a wife. She's not here, so I can speak happily. She doesn't understand the first thing about trading. She doesn't understand market. She didn't understand banking. She's very, very good in what she does, which I don't understand, by the way. So that we made an excellent couple, because when we came back home, we couldn't speak shop. I couldn't talk about trading. She couldn't talk about education and the other stuff that she's doing. And therefore we would think of other things to talk about, right? The best way to unwind. When you're young and when you're in your 20s and 30s and, or even your early 40s, you have adrenaline inside you. So that will push you to do whatever you want. You can talk about markets for 18 hours a day. You can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and check what FOMC has done. And by the way, traders do that. That traders do that, right? They can become obsessed with markets. Do yourself a favor and learn to unwind from markets. To the whole point about longevity and needing to have that balance between emotions. I know markets is seductive. I know markets is extremely interesting. It gives you thrills, it gives you joys, it gives you pleasures. I wouldn't do anything else, as I said, for a living ever. But that adrenaline rush, if you continue with it for too long, by the time you reach your mid-40s, the chances of a burnout are very, very high. I've seen too many traders absolutely burn out even in their mid-30s and in the early 40s. Please unwind. Trading is far more taxing than we acknowledge. Don't let the adrenaline of your youth sustain you through this pain. Start early. Like Bijur sir does his running, somebody else does yoga, somebody else does bird watching, you go for mountaineering, you do photography. Choose things that you love and unwind where you're not talking about markets. When you're going out on holidays, don't take your Bloomberg dabba along with you. Okay, leave it aside somewhere and unwind. Your longevity goes up dramatically. Your clarity of thought thinking goes up dramatically as well. So I'm going to stop here in the interest of time. But quickly to summarize, congratulations again, and both to the graduating class as well as to the entire Almus family for putting this together. I think the combination of attitude, aptitude, mental health, and physical health as well is absolutely critical for a successful trading career. I haven't seen a course like this being offered by anybody else. So full congratulations to you, Bijur sir, Maulik sir, and everybody else. There is no formula for a good trader as far as I can tell. I've seen lots of people from different backgrounds, different makeup, absolutely do extremely well in trading. But to the best of my knowledge, humility, knowing that you're going to be wrong and knowing that that's absolutely fine. By the way, you earn a lot of respect when you acknowledge your mistakes and you acknowledge the fact that you were not right most of the time, some of the time. Lots of hard work in terms, it's not just gut feel. It's not just, aaj mujhe lag raha hai, upar ja raha hai, therefore I'm going to pay or buy or whatever. It is a lot more than that. You have to work hard. You cannot delegate this hard work to a bacha. You have to do it yourself. You have to feel those numbers and that data and that view in your bones. Have a view at all points in time, but don't trade all times. Okay, only trade when that threshold comes to a level when you start to trade. I think that's important as well. Humility, reading, listening to different points of view, listening to people who violently disagree with you, extremely useful. You learn from them. Do it. Don't speak to people who agree with you. Speak to people who disagree with you, and do it with humility. Do it with a spirit of learning. Keeping that emotional balance. I think Dr. Solanki also spoke of it very well. And making sure that you extend your longevity by not, it's like alcohol, right? Just because you enjoy an occasional glass doesn't mean that you're going to swim in alcohol for the whole day or for a whole month together. You stick to one glass a day or one glass in 2 days, and you will stay for a long time, enjoy your life, as well as make a lot of money along the way. So congratulations again. I hope you become fantastic, successful traders, which means you're right 52% of the time, and you manage your money very, very well to become extremely successful. And all the best to you in your forward days going ahead. Back to you, Bijur sir.
Thanks, Ananth. We have some 7 to 8 minutes time for questions. Any of the questions, if you ask, Ananth is available to answer.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good evening, Ananth, sir.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Sir, thanks a lot for this enriching talk. I think it was really useful. My question is kind of pretty basic. If you don't have any access to sites like Bloomberg or Reuters, and we just have a basic site, and can we be a good trader? Like, if we just do a trading with the help of information, market information, and our insights, and we don't have access to the real-time data, so will it? Can we be a good trader in that aspect?
Thanks for that question, Shankar. Appreciate that. Look, what I would suggest is, if you don't have real-time data, don't do day trading. Yeah, you can still do well medium-term trading, taking larger positions. Again, I'm giving you generic answers. I fully appreciate that there might be people who, without having access to a Refinitiv or a Bloomberg, still do very well on day trading. But purely from my experience, you can still do well on medium-term trading, I think, by doing your own analysis, etc. Now, if you don't have real-time data, there is still no substitute for having a good system which you follow. So for instance, I'll tell you what my system is. I do a lot of fundamental analysis. I like doing that. And to the point about positioning and flows, I also spend a lot of time in trying to figure out what flows are coming and how the market is positioned. Okay. On flows, it's things like, for instance, LIC's IPO is going out right now. So I would think about who are the flows, which are the flows have already been hedged, which is going to go out, how will this play out, etc. On positioning, I try to listen to people and see what they're saying about where do they think the markets will go, and I try to get a sense of that. For all of this, I don't require real-time data. I can do it by doing my own analysis from the actual source of the data, RBI websites, from CSO websites, NSO websites, etc. But while I do have access to Bloomberg, thanks to my college and to things like CIC, I don't trade intraday as such. I used to love doing that 15 years ago, but today I don't do that. I try and take more medium-term positions. So yeah, without real time, I think you can still be a successful medium-term trader, depending on the method that you follow and the learning that you have.
Just one, just to ask for follow up on that. When you say a medium term and long term view, I know it's very subjective to quantify and define. What do you want? What will be that in terms of the trading thing? Like, what will be a medium and a long term view?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually, Shankar. I'm giving it from my perspective. So because I have a corpus of small savings which I manage for myself, my medium to long term is really long. It's a 15-year time frame, so that's really long. So in a corporate, you won't have that kind of luxury. You will have far more shorter, maybe a 1 month, 2 month kind of a perspective. But if you're doing based without actually having access to real-time data, I would suggest at least keep a 30-day time frame for yourself, rather than doing it on a daily or a weekly basis. Yeah, I think that might be a lot more meaningful.
Yes, sir. Just last word before we just when I said that we don't have access to data, like we don't have access to data from the markets or a Bloomberg or a Reuters, but we do get research reports, say from Zerodha or like ICICI and all those things. But I don't think that will quantify as a real-time data. So I meant like that actually.
Got it. I'm finding it difficult to relate to that, Shankar, because frankly, I've always immersed myself in data. Okay. By the way, when I left banking and I didn't have access to Bloomberg for a while, I would still go to the source data and take it. So you're right, even without Bloomberg, you can still get data from RBI, from CSO, from CMIE, et cetera. But yeah,
yes,
I can't imagine trading without data.
Yes, because exactly that's what my first thought was, that if we have to do a trading, then we need to get the real time, because markets change very on a fraction of a second.
But as I also heard, Shankar, that those who follow technicals, for instance, and I know very good friends who only trade on technicals, they will absolutely laugh at my fundamental analysis and say, it's a complete bakwas hai. Why are you wasting your time? And don't even tell me what the instrument is, just show me the chart and I'll tell you whether it's going up or down. So, so to each his own or her own.
Okay, Shukri, thank you.
I have time for 2 more questions, not from Shankar.
Bijur, can I ask? I'm Jairam here.
Of course.
Yes. Ananth, as always, enjoyed your session. It's a pleasure to attend your sessions repeatedly. Even if you are making the same points, I would love to hear the same thing over and over again, so that it is completely internalized in me, despite my 25 years of trading experience. At the same time, none of your sessions are complete without a market view. So I would like to hear your market views.
No, in fact, Jairam sir, I would have loved to ask you your view, to be honest. So, but for what it's worth.
And Ananth, just to add to Jairam's point, sorry to just chip in, your favorite calculation on market positioning based on the permanent flows and all.
Sure. No, so let's start with dollar rupee first. The broad flows as I see them for this coming year, for FY23, which is April 2022 to March 2023. Look, we don't know where oil is going to settle. We don't know where commodity prices are going to settle. But if I just freeze the markets as they are today, which means I take the crude oil futures as they, and by the way, they're in backwardation, so they're coming down over a period of time. I take the palm oil futures based on, again, they're also on backwardation over a period of time. I get a total current account deficit for this fiscal year at about $105 billion. Okay. So current account deficit going forward looks like $105 billion. Of course, it will change depending on where commodity prices eventually settle. I'm seeing net FDI of about $45 billion. Okay. So 105 minus 45 is about $60 billion of net outflow. Now, I also like to add FPI in equity as another flow, which I think tends to be permanent. Now you can argue with that because since October of 2021, we've seen $25 billion of outflow, largely from the equity markets, right? So because of what's happening globally and because of US rates going up, etc., that FPI equity has been negative for a long time, right? Since October, as I mentioned. So even if I take FPI and equity as zero for the next 1 year, which you can argue with it, I still see $60 billion of core outflow, right? So where is that core outflow going to be made up by? And by the way, $60 billion if RBI has to sell this fiscal year, it will be the largest ever sale required by the RBI ever. The highest it has had to sell in a fiscal year is about $51 billion. If there are FPI outflows, that $60 billion goes up even more. Okay, so it does look like RBI will have to sell a record amount of dollars this year. Now, so therefore, what should happen? RBI is still sitting on tons of reserves. Now, it looks optically as if RBI's reserves are coming down because the reserves number every WSS is coming down. But a lot of it has been pushed out into the forward market out of balance sheet. So in March, for instance, RBI increased its forward book by about $15 billion. Okay, they were converting things from spot into forward. Okay, so between reserves and forward purchases outstanding, RBI still has about $665 billion of total reserves, right? Which is again a very, very large number. $60 billion will not change the metric for RBI. Okay. As of now, RBI is holding about 21% of GDP as buffer reserves plus forward purchases. In 2013, when we saw a crisis, that number had come down to about 13% or 14% of GDP. Okay, so we still have some room to go. Okay, personally, I think while the flows are looking pretty bad for this year, $60 billion, as I said, it will be a record outflow. Given inflation is a problem, and given RBI sitting on buffers, RBI will not allow a direct free fall in dollar rupee. Okay, it will control the fall. It will allow for a depreciation, but it will not be a free fall. Okay. By the way, right now rupee is in fact outperforming every other currency. DXY has gone to 103 plus, but rupee is still at a pretty strong level, right? So the reason for that is a lot of people, including Neelkanth Mishra, etc., are saying let rupee weaken. It will be the best way out. I think so too. I tend to agree with Neelkanth, but at the moment, given inflation is a problem, given rupee is seen as a sign of the economy's strength, I don't think they allow it to weaken too much. So how long can they continue doing this? Can they do this for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? Now, people, I'm sure you realize this, between 2009 and 2014, crude oil prices averaged over $100 per barrel. Okay, so if you continue with $100 a barrel for the next 3 years, our reserves will start to come down to that 15-14% level. So in many ways, again, it depends on crude oil prices and fertilizer prices and commodity prices and all of that. If the same situation as panned out by the futures continues for 3 years, in 3 years' time, we could be in for trouble as a currency. Okay. Now, what makes this extremely tricky is we don't know if this will last for 3 years. What is to say that, after all, we know that crude oil prices eventually have to come down when we finally manage to solve the renewable energy conundrum, etc., and we can start getting solar in a much cheaper form and we get the battery storage, frankly, we don't require crude oil. Now, whether that's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we don't know. So it's a big unknown and you have to take a call. Personally, I don't like the situation medium term to long term. I think this thing could extend for a long time, which means that over 3 to 5 year period, we could be in for trouble, purely from the flow perspective. Now, what can solve for this? One, of course, is commodity prices come down. If commodity prices come down, I will redo my analysis completely. The second thing which can do very well is if our exports start to pick up, and by exports, I don't mean just gross exports. I mean net exports, which means our trade deficit has to come down. We have to start importing less of electronics, importing less of chemicals, importing less of plastics, and of course, crude oil, and exporting more of hopefully textiles, chemicals, pharma, etc., etc. And all of that has to happen. Base case, I think we could head into trouble in 3 years' time. We do not see a rapid fall in dollar rupee this year. I think we go, the forward is about 2 rupees 85 paisa or something for 1 year. We go in that margin, 2.5 to 3 rupees maybe depreciation, which is in line with forwards. 3 years later, I think we could be in for trouble. Okay, subject to commodity prices not coming off and our exports, maybe Atmanirbhar Bharat becomes a grand success and therefore our exports go up, then we'll have to change our views. But that's the broad view on dollar rupee. Interest rates, likewise, because RBI has plenty of reserves, it has the ability to keep interest rates controlled. I'm not saying low, but controlled. It doesn't have to go through what we went to in 2013 yet. In many ways, I see a parallel between 2009 and now. Okay, 2009, by the way, we had a bit of chaos, but it was not much. After the global financial crisis, India was absolutely fine compared to the other countries. In fact, 2011, dollar rupee was back to 44 from a high of 50, right? So it's a bit of that. We have reserves, we could control things, but if we are complacent and if oil prices remain where they are, and if we don't get our exports right, we could be in for trouble 3 years down the road. So don't expect a time bomb on interest rates or currency right now, but there could be one coming up in 3 years down the road. My 2-bit view, I could be wrong.
Thank you, Ananth. I have no time for another question. And as JK told that every time you come, we hear you, especially I hear you. Date back to maybe the first speech. I don't remember which year I heard you, maybe 2000 or 2002. I always take back something very, very valuable. Some of the things to quote is that hedging, how the corporate should manage their hedges. I think maybe 15, 20 years back you spoke. You are the one banker, at the time you were heading Stanchart Treasury. One banker used to understand what corporate risk management is. And you are blunt enough, straightforward, what the corporate has to do, irrespective of what your bank needs. So then again, last time when you came valedictory function, you told that for traders, each the position, when you come, you view it as a position. Would you like to go long or short? And based on that, you evaluate. So many things. I can go on and on. Okay. Thanks very much. In spite of his your busy schedule, he's leaving to US in a day or two. He has agreed. Thank you very much for the support to Zen. I request you continue to have this support. Thanks, Ananth, again. And now I introduce brief introduction of Kagarajan. Kagarajan is a faculty in Zen. He started his financial market, FX market career in Syndicate Bank as a chief dealer, then chief dealer. Then he moved on to Reliance as the same senior vice president there. And most of us who are in foreign exchange market, he is known as Tyaguji. By qualification, he is a macroeconomist. And as Ananth already said that he reads a lot, voracious reader. And he's a dear friend also. The only complaint what I have with Tyagu is that Tyagu doesn't do anything other than market. Okay, he doesn't run like me. And if you tell too many things, business coaching, mind coaching. In private, he'll say it's all bullshit. Tyagu, you are there. It's over to you.
Yes. I already what to talk after Ananth has talked. There is absolutely nothing else to talk actually. The only thing is, of course, I enjoyed teaching all of you. Of course, I think they have heard me for 24 hours. I think more than 24 hours, actually. I don't think all good things should be brief and simple. So what I meant to say, actually, basically, I have advised them. Actually, during the classes, actually, we have talked about all the technical indicators, momentum indicators, and candlesticks. And then, of course, we have got a class tomorrow also. And then geometric patterns and all that stuff. So basically, it is more on technical. The only advice I will try to give, actually, I think most of you seem to be relatively reluctant to follow technicals. That is some sort of a feedback that I could get. Of course, some of you have been very successful as technical traders in the recent past. Okay, fair enough. The one thing is, whatever said and done, actually, you be in touch with what is that it has been taught. Actually, basically, the kind of information that you have gathered in the last, let's say, 10 to 12 weeks, it's amazing kind of information. And I don't think in any other course you would have got the kind of information that you have got here, actually. That I think I can vouch for that. And then this amazing information, and probably I think all of you should attempt doing CTM, actually. That is one thing, actually. So I think that will keep you in good stead with what's happening in the technical world. Actually, basically, see, at the end of it, it is not that technical analysis begins and ends with the classes. Actually, it now begins with the charts in the live markets and ends as some sort of a profit and loss in your books actually. So to that extent, actually, you be attached to this technical analysis. And of course, you can be a fundamental trader or a technical trader, nobody bothers. But the only thing is at the end of it, what is the money that you bring to the table? That is what everybody will bother about it. So the thing is actually when you are continuing to, let's say, have that is when you continue to read and learn about technical analysis, please surround yourself with people who think technical analysis works. Don't have people who think that the technical analysis doesn't work actually. That's a basic problem actually. So the one thing is actually, if you want to be a successful trader, actually, my feel is actually, of course, Ananth was saying that you have to switch off yourself after 5 o'clock. Maybe a foreign banker can afford to switch off himself after 5 o'clock, but not a run-of-the-mill trader actually. So basically, my advice is, of course, the advices are different. 24/7/365, you ought to be switched on, as simple as this. Either it is a Sunday or a Saturday, actually think of the market. The one thing I can always tell, if you think, breathe, read this market, the markets will never ditch you. Possibly, I think you will be able to make very good calls, actually, very great calls you will make, actually, possibly. The macro calls, let it be macro calls or a technical calls, even in the short term or a medium term. I think it's going to be an amazing journey. There is no doubt about it. The one advice that I will give you, please be actually basically having learned so much in the last 6 to 8 weeks, don't waste that knowledge actually. That is the basic thing. You just keep in touch with people who believe in technicals, and then if you want to read and then about the tech fundamentals at any point of time, you can just buzz me. Of course, you have my number. You can just buzz me. Possibly I will be willing to, I am more than willing to share whatever that little bit of knowledge that I have on both technicals as well as fundamentals. So at no point of time don't say, of course, we have talked about it in the classes also, don't say that I am a technical trader, I am a fundamental trader. Absolutely no, I think no fun in saying I am a technical guy, I am a fundamental guy. Actually, a technical guy with a fundamental pride will be I think possibly the best trader that you can ever be. So all the very best. You have learned a lot actually. I think I can assure you that you have learned a lot. So now it is up to you to go and prove yourself in the market. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kagarajan. The allotted time for Kagarajan was 12 to 14 hours. Instead of that, he has taken 24 hours of the course. He's still now in Scotland. From there, he's taking class. That is the passion he had. Another thing, what he was telling, even I can vouch for it. Even I was not the person who was not interested in technical analysis, or I was telling it's all rubbish, stupid. But of late, I realized I call trading as a business. When you are doing a business, you should have a complete knowledge of what that business in trading. One of the things is about the fundamentals. Second thing is technicals. There is absolutely no doubt about that. As Tyagu said, that you have to read the chart, understand yourself, or outsource good reports which is available in the market. Without technical analysis, you trade. I can now say that it is speculation. It is not trading. It is not a business. So the whatever Tyagu taught you, he used to say in his class that it will last for your life. If you apply it with a limited capital of say 10 lakhs rupees, you can earn decent money from the market. From that, what you learn. For shortage of time, I'll stop here and I'll introduce Daniel Was. Daniel Was is a running coach. He's a chief coach at Nike. By qualification, he's again an IIT Mumbai engineer, and he is CEO of Botley Ball Textile Division. And he leads a running coach group at by name Road Burners. Recently, they have extended the Road Burners. They have gone to in Mumbai. They're conducting 1 or 2 places. He has a plan to expand it to various cities in India. And again, he was teaching you how to run. And again, whatever he says, he practices. Quite senior. I think he's nearing his 60. but he practices, he runs regularly, and highly disciplined, highly focused executive in business as well as running, and run over 40 marathons. I think ultra marathon also. And as Thagu says, you breathe, eat, sleep with the trading. I think dancer does on the running. I have not seen a day where he doesn't exercise or he doesn't coach or he doesn't run. Over to Sir Dan. So Daniel is there. Okay. 1 second. I think there is some issues. I'll call him. Some breakdown. So Dan sir is undergoing some treatment. So he will not be joining us. And what is the next item in agenda? Suman?
Yeah, we are actually done.
Yes. So
Yes.
we will take questions, any questions, and before that, I will brief that. Will you, Seema, will you tell about the next
Yes.
course? Okay, when it starts.
Yes.
Okay. Then
Zen 7 is starting soon.
Then we'll take some questions followed by vote of thanks. Okay.
Sure. Actually, congratulations, first of all, to Zen 6 batch for successfully completing and graduating. You're all ready to be master traders. And I want to thank all the coaches of Zen 6 batch who have been putting a lot of effort, whether it is in mindset, whether it is fitness. So you have been not just getting the background on trading itself, you have been completely transformed in every aspect. So we have more ambitious projects coming up with Zen 7, having the complete platform where you learn trading, you make sure that you transform as a person. The reason for fitness, the reason for mindset is to bring a certain element of discipline, as well as to ensure that you completely, your entire life gets sorted. You are not just working towards one aspect of your life, but you're able to bring all aspects together and become a much better human being. So this is a very unique project, unlike anything you would get anywhere else. We are starting soon with Zen 7 on 6th of June. So all the details will be provided to you through all our mediums. We'll send you emails, brochures, and further information on this. So whoever, there are a lot of new participants here who have shown personal interest in understanding how to trade. There will be more information available for women entrepreneurs because this has been a male dominant area. So thanks to Venkatesh sir and Maulik sir, we are taking the next step. We're training for women and young entrepreneurs who are young people who are now joining into business, who are in their 20s, who are very ambitious. We'll be teaching them how to take the next step. And so other than whatever profession you are into right now, it doesn't matter. You can still get into trading as one aspect of your life. Once you get into it, of course, you have masters here. You have all the backup you require. So we definitely go further with this. So I would suggest that anybody has any questions, because there are a lot of new participants here. Anyone has to ask, they have any doubts, what has been shared, please go ahead and ask your questions. You can unmute yourself or you can just put it up on chat. We already have 2 questions on chat, by the way. So I request Venkatesh sir, why don't you just go ahead and answer this?
Which question? This one and my personal view, don't think it impact. What is that question? Can you read out?
No, before that, how do you see the impact of Sri Lanka bankruptcy issue in India, good or bad?
So Sri Lankan issue, see, I'm not an expert in what is happening in the neighboring country and its impact. Not in just common sense says not much, because it's not a very big country. Okay, maybe we have a more communal or relationship because the Tamil Nadu and they speak Tamil and we speak Tamil. Section of Sri Lankans speak Tamil, and there is a good cordial relationship. Beyond that, financial market, there won't be much effect on about what is happening in Sri Lanka. JK, would you like to answer this? JK, are you there? Jainam? Okay, fine. Go ahead. Any other questions are there?
Anybody wants to ask anything?
About the Zen 6 course, which we are starting, any questions you can start? Otherwise,
yes, I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
Which kind of data we should look in RBI sites and other sites? Which kind of data we should look for?
I think.
What data?
Yeah. I think if Tyagu is there, Tyagu will answer to your question. Kagarajan, over to you. Or you ask this question in the next classroom. Who is this?
Hello. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
This is Maya.
Yeah. Maya, you ask this question in the next class. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there any prerequisite for doing this course? As in, do we need to understand any basics, or even completely a fresh person can understand trading after doing this course?
Yeah, it's a very good question. You don't need any prerequisites, and we will have an interview with you before admitting you to the course. So it's a business. So a simple common sense and risk capital and willingness to trade and willingness to follow the mind coaching and business aspects that are required. So you should be aligned to mind coaching. You should be aligned to keeping good health. And if you have a risk capital and if you have a simple common sense, just a graduate, okay, you can do this course. I have a trader, okay, way back in 98 or maybe 98, and he was from a PSU bank. He joined my team. He was not able to speak good English, or he was not good in communication. Okay, so I was not willing to take him, but then he was trained and he has become a master trader. He went to Singapore and he was at ING. He was the best trader of Asia. His name is Ramakrishna. So it's all, it's a business. How you pick up, how you devote time, what Tyagu said, technicals, fundamentals, more the work you do, more disciplined you are, and the more money you do. It's a business, and it's an easy business, compared to many other business.
Okay,
yes,
so you learn on the training. I mean, you do both. I mean, it's like on the job training. So it's
Just... we during the course of Zen, you have to trade. We teach you trading. We will make a business plan for you, and we follow it according to it, how you are doing it.
Okay.
What you need is in a half an hour or 1 hour in a day. It is not a full time. Also, you don't require.
And what's the duration of the course? As in
3 months. 3 months. It is 100 hours of premium training, and maybe 50 to 60 hours of homework. You may have to do it.
Okay, got it. And I presume rest of the details you'll get it on the mail ID, right?
Yeah. We'll send you a detailed brochure is there. Okay. If you need further anything, you can talk to me or Seema offline.
Yeah.
So this basics of trading covers everything. So once you learn this science, if I may say so, you can trade on gold, you can trade on any commodities, you can even trade on equities.
Yes, you are right.
So it doesn't
Technicals you
matter
can
which
apply for currencies, commodities, interest rates, anything where charts are available. There was a question, asked by Bloomberg Reuters, agar mere paas nahi hai, can I trade? It is possible because now NetDania is there. Various free sites were there where charts are available. Fundamental news are also available. I always recommend to read Financial Times London. It was a bit costly, but you can earn much more than that paper cost. If you want to be in the foreign exchange market or commodity market, if you read that, it is more than enough. You don't have to have.
After the course is over, is there an alumni kind of a support, continuous support?
Yes, we have alumni, and we are thinking of making the alumni strong, and we get more of the references for the next batch to alumni. We'll definitely, alumni group is there. There, Ishwant Rao and Kagarajan, all they support. Tyagu told openly, any supports you require, he is available. So I forgotten to tell you that the Tyagu is and other syndicate bank dealers, they have formed an educational trust by name SYFX Academy. There also they conduct webinars. They also support traders and dealers and various aspects of financial market development.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we are running out of time. Seema, you can continue and propose vote of thanks.
Yes, actually, there's just one last question there. How do you see crypto market developing in India in trading?
No, that is a very crypto market has to develop. This is my personal view. It is not Alma's view. Okay, so but it is a complicated question. Without understanding what is crypto, people comment. Okay, and crypto is definitely the future of financial market. Again, it's my personal view. Okay, yeah, Seema.
Yes. Okay. I want to just thank all the speakers who came today, the valuable knowledge that was shared by Professor Ananth sir. That was mind-blowing. And Dr. Pramod, who has taken special time out from his business experience, shared quite a lot of details. And I want to also thank Maulik sir and Venkatesh sir for your valuable time and the kind of ambitious project that you all have done. This has been really beneficial to a lot of participants who have no idea about trading and had that fear within them, who would always consider that, all the negatives that we have been hearing over the time about trading and the fear people have in entering into something like this. So this particular course, Zen 6 and all the Zen, programs we have had till now, it has helped a person to mold themselves, to come out of their fear zone, thanks to the mindset training that was provided by Ekta ma'am, Atida ma'am, with Venu sir, and the technical aspects combined. So this entire course has allowed all of us to develop ourselves in every aspect. And we look forward to doing much more for many more participants. So I thank the entire Almas team for its collective effort to come this far. And we definitely have many more sessions that are coming up. You will have a lot of support from us. Like some of the participants were asking, trading doesn't just stop here. It is going to be mind, body, and soul. The more you get into it, the more it becomes part of you. So you'll definitely get the kind of success you want and be very down to earth, like how Ananth sir told us. We have to also be accepting our failures and moving forward. So looking forward to seeing the new participants with us, and we will be in touch with the old participants all the time. We will get all the support, and we look forward to so much more coming up. There are a lot more events, like Dancer couldn't make it today, but we thank him for all the fitness that he's been making people run and focus on their health as well. If you stay healthy, you will definitely be wealthy. So we sign off here today, and we'll be in touch. More details will be shared to all of you through WhatsApp, email, and whatever the sources. Any further questions which could not be covered here, you all can still come back to us on WhatsApp, and we will ensure that we get back to you with the feedback. So let's end tonight. Good night to everyone.
Thank you.